Hello and welcome everyone. This is Type V3 with a Figma review of the Iron Man Mark VII full spec, modeled after the suit of armor Tony Stark donned in Marvel's The Avengers. Let's not beat around the bush. Figma Iron Man is gorgeous. I repeat, capital G, gorgeous. Max Factory have gone for an accurate representation of the Mark VII armor, and the final result speaks for itself. All the details and core design elements are faithfully included. From head to toe, the lining is sharp and the sculpting well defined. The proportions remain realistic, and more importantly, it actually appears as if a human body is wearing the suit, as opposed to other Iron Man toys that look like a humanoid cyborg or android. Of course, the most prominent highlight on this 6.5-inch tall figure is easily the paint job. The entire toy has been covered in sparkly metallic paint with a super glossy finish on top. The real secret, however, is the vibrancy of the colors. The figure just pops with striking visual interest. On top of that, none of the paint carries any QC flaws, but I can confirm that it is very sensitive to scratching. Unfortunately, Figma Iron Man does carry some aesthetic issues. The inner elbows and backs of the knees serve as the main focus of unattractiveness, though it's not due to their round shape, rather it's simply that they're unpainted. With every other section of the toy looking beautiful, the dullness of these bare plastic joints are only emphasized more. Secondly, Iron Man's core reactor comes off a bit boring too. It could have used some detailing, or even a brighter background. As it is now, it looks like someone turned his suit off. In spite of these minor visual flaws, Figma Iron Man is still such a joy to stare at, and if my review were based on appearance alone, this release would certainly be one of the top toys of the year. Alas, articulation is just as important as presentation. So to start, Iron Man has a hinge at the base of the neck, and then the top is a hinged ball joint with some good range, and he can look pretty far up, which is nice, and looking downwards is pretty good too. Here at the top of the torso, there is a ball joint that connects this section to this section, but this little flap here is actually just a soft little plastic material that sort of moves with it, so it creates a nice, natural movement when you're moving the torso, which is nice. A hidden joint right here at this top cut it's just a standard hinge joint, and it can move back and forth. And then at the bottom, there is a ball joint for the waist. Now, using everything together, you can actually get Iron Man to bend over quite a lot, which is pretty nuts. Going backwards, it's okay. It could be a little bit better, but it's certainly way more impressive when you're moving them forwards. The arms are connected on a barbell joint from the ball joint in the arm and the ball joint in the torso. So there's some good pivoting action. Back and forth is good. Outward is okay. It's limited by the shoulder joint. And the thing about the shoulder joint is it's not actually a joint. It's actually just a little plastic tab piece that's in there, and then it's connected to a ring that wraps itself around the joint. So what that means is whenever you're moving the shoulder, the shoulder pad looks natural. However, it's not the most sturdiest built thing, and I have a feeling that it limits articulation a bit, but if you stretch this arm out too much or you leave it in a dramatic pose for too long, it might break down or wear down the plastic material in there. So I would just be cautious of that. There is a bicep swivel, single jointed elbow, which has a pretty decent range of motion. I'm glad that it's better than 90 degrees. The wrist joint is a bit disappointing. Not the articulation, but you'll see why. So first of all, it is a hinged ball joint, which is nice, but the armor flap here is not attached to the fist, and it's again some soft plastic material, which can warp if you leave it in certain positions. But my big issue is when he has his hand out like this, and then you turn the fist, suddenly that just breaks the illusion. I don't know why this just isn't a piece that's connected on the hand itself, and it's a pretty big oversight in my opinion. The hips are in your standard ball joint, and they have a bar that connects both hips together so you can get the pivoting action. This little crotch piece is on a separate piece of soft plastic, which moves upward so that you can get the range of motion increased. It does create some interesting gaps in the back, but that can't be helped. Now, there are an interesting connection here. There's actually a built-in thigh swivel that cups itself around the ball joint there, so you get some decent thigh swivel. But there's a second, ball joint right in here, and that gives you a little bit more. So together, each one of them don't do it much, but together they create nice fluid thigh swivel motion, which is nice. There is a single jointed knee, pretty decent range, and this armor flap here can fold up because it's just on a hinge to cover up that Figma joint, which is, I appreciate that. The one thing is these knees are kind of loose, as with the ankle. I mean, the ankle has a hinged ball joint, so you have some tilting back and forth, but along with this joint and the toe joint, they're very loose, and I don't know why that is. It's actually my first time I've had a Figma with very loose joints. The other disappointment is the armor flaps here at the front and the back are just soft plastic. So again, same rules apply. Leave it in one position too long and it'll probably warp and stay there, and I'm just not a fan of this soft plastic material. Iron Man is definitely one of the best articulated Figma releases to date. However, its lack of double-jointed elbows and knees, along with its reliance on soft plastic materials and weak joint tolerances, keep it one step behind the competition. Seeing as how this is the full spec version, we'll split up the accessories and focus on the items that come with all Figma Iron Man toys first. To start, there's a Figma hand rack and 5 pairs of hands. Fists, open palms, and generic gripping hands make up your first 3 pairs. The other 2 are fixed posed and have built-in pegs in the palms. These are both used with the included repulsor blast effect parts. The difference between the hands is that one is posed for firing a beam, while the other is more suitable for flight. As for the effect parts themselves, they're a bit pedestrian if I'm honest. Both shape and color could be improved. To go along with these, you get foot repulsors too, and yup, they're literally just upscaled versions of the smaller ones. There is indeed a Figma stand to assist with flight poses and a Figma bag to store all the extras. Now time for the full spec exclusive items, and these can all be described as swap out parts. There's a new back piece with opened flaps, exposed missile pods for the shoulders and thighs, and 2 entire forearms with firing missiles. All the pieces attach via a simple peg connection without issue. Also, you will need to take the wrist joint from the original arms to be used with the new ones. The changes as a whole are great, adding good variety. The missile detailing is especially profound. On the other hand, the lack of detailing underneath the back flaps is hugely disappointing. The final and most significant inclusion is the second head with an open faceplate. Sure, it's very anime in its style, yet it somehow still resembles Robert Downey Jr. Maybe it's because there's not much else here besides his face, or maybe it's because the facial hair helps out a lot. Regardless, it's a cool addition to have. Figma Iron Man Mark VII is awesome, and the full spec extras only serve to make the release better as a whole. Its overall presentation is gorgeous, and while the articulation may not do anything fancy, there's more than enough functionality to satisfy. Without a doubt, this is the best of the Figma Avengers, and it may very well be one of the best Figma products to date too. Although, I suppose it should be, considering this is also quite the expensive figure at $70, with the full spec version costing around $80. Regardless, this is a better Iron Man figure than I could have ever expected from Max Factory, and it's pretty great for a Figma. And yet, that's my biggest problem. It's an awesome Figma, but it's not the ideal Iron Man figure. Personally, I feel Bandai's SH Figuarts Iron Man Mark VI is still the superior toy. Even though it's smaller and carries a slightly stylized sculpt, it's just a better engineered product. I'll admit, the Figma Iron Man full spec probably makes for a better display piece with its diversity of parts, and its included display stand along with uniqueness of the Mark VII armor make it a neat collector's item. However, if you're after something that's nicer to pose and more fun to play with, then Bandai's got you covered. But that's all for me. Thanks for watching, and now I'm wondering if I should have gotten the Hot Toys Avengers instead. I mean, they do have a completed team, and with Figma, there's no guarantee.